All right, welcome to Vinyl from the Fringe, episode 2. Vinyl from the Fringe is where we go off-roading, we go off the beaten path, and we explore some vinyl that you probably don't have in your collection and that my wife probably wishes I didn't have in mine. Some of the ones, well, one of the ones I kind of wish I didn't have in mind today. But this is an after Thanksgiving, but still post Christmas. This is like the weekend after Thanksgiving, so still probably having some turkey sandwiches or tofurkey sandwiches or, you know, whatever you like. This might be a longer one because we have 3 records. I actually have notes on these that I did today because some of it got into some stuff that is pretty detailed, um, pretty specific. Some of it's pretty cringy. Um, but let's see. Without further ado, let's introduce the very first record. This is Arlo Guthrie's original motion picture score, Alice's Restaurant. And I'm going to start off by saying, you don't want this record. You don't want it. I shouldn't have bought it. It's got a clip corner, which that'll tell you right there. It is an overpress or some sort of discounted record. They thought it would sell better than it did, and it did not. And part of the reason why is the reason that I got this. And let me put a little drag that up. Come on. Trying to put the little icon in the corner. Slight technical difficulty here. There we go. And the reason why I picked this song is because Alice's Restaurant is the it is the Thanksgiving song. The elements of the song occur on Thanksgiving Day. It became a Thanksgiving anthem back in the '60s when it came out. It was released in 1967. The song was, um, and it was released. It's by Arlo Guthrie. He is the son of the famous Woody Guthrie. You might have seen him. He plays a guitar that's got a sticker on it that says "This machine kills fascists." Um, and he wrote a lot of anti-fascist material, things like "All you fascists are going to lose," stuff like that. He also wrote "This land is our land," um, and he did that in sort of response to our fairly war-centric national anthem. Um, but yeah, this is his son. Um, a lot of musicians say they were influenced by Woody Guthrie, Arlo's father, including Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash. Oddly enough, if you look it up on Wikipedia, Arlo Guthrie, his son, is not listed as a musician who acknowledges being influenced by Woody. I thought that was kind of funny. This song, like I said, was released in 1967. It was released about 2 months after Woody Guthrie died. So I just imagine it must have been a kind of tough time for Arlo going through that a little bit. But then again, Woody Guthrie had 8 kids with 3 wives. And I think the last one was put up for adoption as well. So he may not have had the best relationship with his kids out there. So I don't know. Maybe that wasn't as big of a deal. Um, Inspired by the song Alice's Restaurant, they made a movie out of it. And that's because Alice's Restaurant is like a 18 plus, 18 and some second, 18 minute some second long not walking, but talking blues. It's got a it's got a sort of repeat. Um, there's not really a chorus or a verse. It's just Woody telling a somewhat autobiographical tale about how he ran into some trouble with the law over something kind of minor, but it ended up impacting him a little bit later in life. I'm not going to ruin the story or all of it, but I do want to play a quick little clip from it so you can get the kind of sense of it. While it is a protest song, it does protest the Vietnam War. It does so with humor, which I think is kind of interesting to contrast to his father's career. His father was very upfront about what he was doing, but Arlo kind of softens it with comedy and exaggeration. It is a very exaggerated tale of the goings on, I think, and it's those exaggerations and repeats or callbacks that he does that really infuse and timing that really infuse some comedy with it. He has another kind of famous song called the Motorcycle Song, um, and that is also a talking blues song that is also funny. But let's play this clip, and I will say that the picture they use on this video for this clip, that's the one you want. You don't want the one in the corner, and I'll tell you why in a second, right after this.
And they took 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. Took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner, the southwest corner, and that's not to mention the aerial photography. After the ordeal, we went back to the jail. Obie said he was going to put us in the cell. Said, "Kid, I'm going to put you in the cell."
All right, we made it. The reason why you don't want this record is because, like I said, Alice's Restaurant Massacre is an 18-minute and 20 or 40-second long song, something like that. I don't remember right off the top of my head. It takes up the whole side of an album, or it should take up the whole side of an album. What they did on this album is they split it up. Oh, you can't really see it. And they put half of it on side A after a little bit of traveling music, and then they put the other half of it on side B. On the version where he's sitting with that napkin, shirtless at a table with, fancy accoutrement. On that one, they have the entire song on side A, uninterrupted, don't have to flip the record. And that's probably why this record didn't do as well. Also, Alice's Restaurant, it's the first song, or it's the first album by Arlo Guthrie, also has the Motorcycle Song on it. So if you can get the first album, it's way better than this one. The movie came out in 1969, and it premiered just days before Woodstock. And Arlo Guthrie, I do believe, played at Woodstock. So that would have been also sort of challenging for him. It's kind of weird how some of the things stack up like that for Arlo, like his dad's death, his album's release, premiere of the movie, boom, Woodstock. Just checking my notes. That's pretty much all I had on this. If you look it up on Discogs, they sell from $1.89. You can get that record for under $2. I didn't look up the actual one you want, but this one's kind of cheap. So if you just want the song, no matter what, and you don't mind flipping the record, $2. I mean, shoot, medium mail will cost you more. Probably cost you about $5. So if you're going to be out $7 total, I'd say skip it and look for Alice's Restaurant, the album, not the motion picture soundtrack, or original music from the motion picture. Yeah, no, original motion picture score. Don't get that one. Get the actual album, Alice's Restaurant by Arlo Guthrie. You'll be much happier. So yeah, that's one of those ones where I probably got a little excited and clicked the buy button before I realized what it was. and then was disappointed that I had to flip the record to hear all of Alice's Restaurant. It's a good Thanksgiving song. I hope you give it a listen. I hope you play it every Thanksgiving. It's a real fun song that, it's about a real difficult time in American history, um, when it was not easy to be a young person. And it goes into that with humor, um, and comes out of it with a really funny 20 almost minute long tale. So the next two records that I have are actually Christmas records because I am a sucker for weird Christmas music. Um, and I have a couple of them, or I have several. We're only going to look at two this episode. I don't have a whole ton, so I don't know. I got to save some for next year or something. Um, but anyways, the first one is a real weird one, and we gotta take Arlo down here. It's gonna be a punk rock Christmas by the Ravers. It's kind of hard to see this one. There we go. Oh, I'm hitting the mic. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's gonna be a punk rock Christmas by the Ravers. And there's a lot of stuff in the picture. It looks kind of Mick Jagger-y. Um, and I don't know. The picture is kind of weird, and you've probably never heard of the punk rock group the Ravers, unless you've heard of this particular record. And we'll put this up here. Oh, come on. There we go. That's the album we're talking about right now. And that's because I was looking into it, and this album actually came out in 1977. So this is pretty early. Um, it's not late. I don't know. Late. It's 77, late 70s. It's mid late, maybe kind of mid. But I still think it's kind of early punk in my brain. Um, and the title track on it, it's going to be a punk rock Christmas, is very name droppy. He's talking about the Ramones. He's talking about the Sex Pistols. Um, and the title track, it's going to be a punk rock Christmas, doesn't really sound punky to me. And we'll play a clip of that right now for you. It's kind of weird. Take a listen.
In a play, it's gonna be a punk rock Christmas this year. Even Santa's gonna be.
See what I mean? I mean, there's like a phaser or a flanger on it, which isn't very punk. That's kind of more like polished production. Um, I don't know. It didn't sit right with me. And then when I was researching it to do this episode, it jumped out why. Um, you never heard of the Ravers because the Ravers were formed by a guy named Lou Maxfield and Gramdaddy that were of the glam rock band Daddy Maxfield. They formed in L.A. They went to the U.K. for a while, and then they came back to L.A. So I have a hard time telling if they're sort of saluting punk rock or if they're kind of aping it, just making fun of it a bit. I lean towards the latter, um, thinking that, maybe they thought like, oh, it'd be really fun to do like a punk rock Christmas song because it'd be kind of a non sequitur and, I mean, there's not many still to this day. I mean, how many punk rock Christmas records are there? I mean, granted, it's only a 45. There's only two tracks on it. It's going to be a punk rock Christmas and Silent Night. But how many of those? It's still an oddity, I should say. even though it was written by a glam rock duo. Lou Maxfield, he's played with a number of bands. He's got sort of ancillary credits on a bunch. He has credits on Joan Jett's Bad Reputation album. He played in a band with Ray Manzarek after the Doors, and ran into some health problems in the 90s, and that kept him kind of off the road, although he's done some production stuff. Graham Daddy, I think, is a stage name. Well, it's obviously a stage name, Graham Daddy. His last name's Daddy. But he's in a band I was able to find online, or at least it was an album that he worked on with his buddy. It's called Delusions of Grandeur. There's like a website for that still, and he's using his name Graham Daddy in that one. But when I was looking through and doing research on this album, I found that he had a lot of production credits for strange, like not related at all things, like Grey's Anatomy, MTV's Road Rules in the Real World, some National Lampoon movies. I was not able to verify those because, like I said, I think he used a stage name for his glam rock, and didn't use it for other, maybe more serious ventures. Maybe his glam rock band was never supposed to be super big. Um, but um, it is known that the glam rock band, what is it, Daddy Maxfield, um, did do this 45. They did put this 45 out. They also had a couple other UK hits, some like dance hits, kind of, but they were glam rock. I've also heard it called tough glam rock that they play, which that I thought was kind of funny. Like, I don't know, tough glam rock. um, Not able to find a whole lot else about that band. It's kind of interesting. The side B is a cover of Silent Night, and we'll play a clip of that right now. That's actually a lot more punk. I didn't include it, but when they get into the solo, things get really out of tune, and I think that's part of them making fun of punk because you can say what you will about punk. I mean, it's got to be tight, and it's got to be in tune. So I think they were trying to find ways to make something punky and kind of landed flat on the solo a little bit because it got a little crazy. Plus, I don't know. The music itself doesn't sound that punky to me, I guess is what uh, it comes down to. And this version of Silent Night is definitely more punk. And it's a fun one to put on when you're hosting a party because people are like, what is this?
Silent night, holy night. All is calm, all is bright. Round.
That's the Ravers cover of Silent Night. They also probably did not do this under their typical name of Daddy Maxfield because they didn't want to be associated with punk, maybe? I don't know. You can come up with a number of reasons why a band would change its name for 145 and go back. Um, it's an interesting phenomenon on an interesting record that's got some interesting music to play on the holidays. The next one is terrible. Not going to sugarcoat it. This one was a big hit, and it was a big hit with a lot of staying power for Christmas. No, it's not Mariah Carey. It is another 45, and I'm going to warn you, it's terrible. Do they know it's Christmas? It's terrible with a silver lining. And we'll get to that in just a bit. We'll put that up there. 1984. They're in the middle of the Ethiopian famine that went from 83 to 85. And I gotta look up the names because I don't remember them off the top of my head. Bob Geldof and Midge Uri decided that they were going to try and form a super band of the biggest names in British music, British and Irish, for the most part. We'll get to that later. There's a little surprise there. They were going to get them all together, and they were going to form a power group for one day, record this song that they wrote together, and donate the proceeds to help feed people impacted by the Ethiopian famine that was going on at that time. And it is, I mean, I guarantee you've heard this song because there's sort of like a bells portion of it with like swells and it sounds Christmassy. And that is frequently like looped and licensed for radio commercials. So if you've heard a Christmas radio commercial, you've probably heard this song. I've heard it a lot in, I mean, it like local jewelry stores to, local, I'm drawing a blank now, but nurseries or like where you can buy Christmas trees, all kinds of stuff like that. It's not on the national stuff. It's on the more local ads, but I've heard it on numerous different ads. Like, oh, that's that terrible song. And you might ask, why is the song terrible? And the reason why is because the lyrics are awful. I think it was Wikipedia that said that it was a Western-centric view, which I would call it Western exceptionalism to that one, and it includes sweeping negative generalizations of the continent of Africa, and that is 100% true. It is terrible. Early on it says things like, pray for the other ones. So like right off the bat, it's kind of like othering the people of Africa. It's got other lines in it that make like honestly no sense. Like, where nothing ever grows, no rain or rivers flow, do they know it's Christmas time at all? There's Christians in Africa. There's Christians in Ethiopia. There are people that know it's Christmas in Africa. Trust me, it's not lost on anyone. And where nothing ever grows. It's a whole continent. Of course stuff grows on Africa. You can't have a whole continent where nothing grows, and no rain or rivers flow. This is 1984. Toto's Africa, Where They Blessed the Rains, Down in Africa, came out in 1982. So they knew it rained in Africa. It can't, I can't with this song. It is so ridiculous. And it had the biggest, they accomplished their mission in a couple of ways. They got the biggest names in British and Irish music to be on this, including George Michael from Wham at the time, Sting, Bono, Phil Collins. One of the writers was in the Boomtown Rats, so almost all the Boomtown Rats were in it. Most or all of Bananarama, Duran Duran, Boy George, Spandau Ballet. The one American rock group that came aboard because they had the same label as the Boomtown Rats was, oddly enough, Kool and the Gang was on this. But this has the one lyric, and I haven't gone over this one lyric yet. And this is the most criticized one at all. This is the most criticized one of all. And let's play that.
Where the only water flows, the bitter sting of tears, and the Christmas bell.
Yes. I would have to ask. I mean, I would have to suppose that if you ask Bono, if there's anything he's ever sung that he wishes he could take back and not sing, I'm pretty sure. Well, tonight, thank God it's them instead of you. Would be the top of the list there. Um, it's terrible. The song it's so bad. And the B side is really weird. The B side is artists who couldn't make the recording for this, um, basically saying to give. And it's artists like Paul McCartney, David Bowie. I think Frankie Goes to Hollywood was on there. But it's a really weird B side. It's mostly these spoken messages. Some of them sound like they're off of like an answering machine, um, and then they throw in some of the bell and Christmas music from the title track. Um, even the album artwork is like super cringy. I mean, you have these like, you know, you have these like poor starving African kids at the bottom in black and white, and I keep hitting my freaking microphone. You have these poor starving African kids in black and white at the bottom, and then they're surrounded by like British opulence in full color illustrated, collage work. It's just so bad. Like there's a classier way to do that. There's a way to raise money for people who need help without simultaneously disparaging them. That's yeah. It's it's a bad song. You're not going to sing that on karaoke. But like I said, you will hear the karaoke version without words played under local Christmas ads. Um, oh yeah, here's one of my notes here is that while we can, it's kind of easy to see that and say that today. It's still fairly popular. Now, granted, this is 2012, which is now 10 years ago, but a 2012 UK poll voted this song sixth in the nation's favorite Christmas songs. So 10 years ago, this was still in the top 10 of the UK's favorite Christmas songs. And that is ridiculous. It's terrible. Yeah. I don't know if you want to sneak that on during a holiday party and uh, and see who actually listens to the lyrics. And it's crazy who's singing them. I mean, Sting is singing them, Bono is singing them, Boy George is singing them. It's crazy. But there's a silver lining on this, and that's for starters, the writers of the song wanted to raise £70,000 to help feed people in Ethiopia, and they ended up raising 8 million. It was the fastest charting single in the UK up until that point, and it stayed the fastest one until Candle in the Wind in 1997. It raised a ton of money to help people, and the success of this power group, which they call Band Aid, which is also, I don't know if it's oddly appropriate, like putting a Band Aid on on the problem, or if it's clever. Um, but it was so successful, it went on to inspire We Are the World in the United States, and went on to inspire Comic Relief and Live Aid. And Live Aid at the time was, I believe, the largest event, live music event in the United States since Woodstock. I believe my parents told me that they hadn't seen anything that big since Woodstock. So some good did come out of this turd dirigible of a song. Um, that's a phrase I like to use instead of lead balloon because it sounds old timey and it involves poo. feel free to use it. I would definitely call this song a turd dirigible. It is a piece of crap that somehow flew. And I'm thankful for the good that it did, but I think it's probably time to retire that one. So, 3 weird records. Kind of did a deep dive on them. If you have any thoughts, questions, definitely put them in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you want to see more weird vinyl stuff, deep dives on weird records. I still have piles and piles of them, and we'll be going through them hopefully like once a week, once every 2 weeks here. So hit the bell so you can get notifications and stay up on when I'm putting these out. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me, and I hope you enjoyed it.